I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come crawling for me. Groovy. Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So it is time for the next episode of Movie That Deserves a Sequel. Now, in today's video, guys, I'm going to be covering this time an example of a horror movie. And this is actually a horror movie reboot, if you will, a reimagining of an original movie from the 80s. And this movie, which I'm going to be covering, is actually part of my favourite horror franchise of all time. And I really would love to see a follow-up which continues on from this story. And this film, guys, which in my opinion deserves a sequel, is none other than 2013's Evil Dead. So, you guys are probably wondering, of course, what do I think of Evil Dead, the whole franchise? Well, as you guys know, it's my favourite horror franchise of all time, and this is my Blu-ray Steelbook of a 2013 reboot, and yeah, it's a pretty amazing Steelbook. Look at that, that's pretty freaky, isn't it, on the back there of Mia there, goodness me. Yeah, pretty frightening. I also as well have on me my Blu-ray Steelbook of the original movie from 1981, The Evil Dead, which is a very revolutionary movie for the horror genre, indeed, yeah. Wow, look at that. Scary. And as you guys know, my favourite horror movie of all time, my favourite horror sequel of all time, and one of my favourite films of all time in general, of course, is also my Blu-ray Steelbook here of Evil Dead 2, also known as Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. This is just an absolutely amazing movie, and yeah, there's Ash on my back, my favourite horror protagonist of all time. And of course, even as I have the movies in a Blu-ray collection here as well, which also, of course, includes the third one, Army of Darkness, which I'm hoping to one day get as a Blu-ray Steelbook. I wouldn't say no to that. I mean, if I have the others as Steelbooks, why not have, of course, Army of Darkness as a Steelbook too? Yeah, exactly. So, on the topic of why I think this film deserves a sequel then, so I think this movie is pretty underrated, and I think is an example of a quite recent horror film being released in the 2010s decade to actually be good. Because, unfortunately, we haven't had much good horror films in recent times, have we, sadly? But this film, however, in my opinion, was good. I really enjoyed this movie when I watched it. It was actually pretty scary, and it's also one of the goriest films I've ever seen in my life. Like, wow, it's actually pretty terrifying, and I think they did a really great job of it, and Fede Alvarez really did a good job directing this movie, and the character Mia is a good character as well, very likeable and well developed as well, and was played very well by Jane Levi. So, when it comes to, of course, what I think of this movie, and so the film kind of does end on a bit of a cliffhanger because after, of course, fighting the Abomination, as it's called, the Deadite in the movie, she's able to bisect the head of it before it sinks back into the ground, and the rain stops. She's exhausted, Mia is, and then she leaves to search for help, but she's unaware that the Naturom Demonto is still intact and slamming shut on its own. So right there, of course, it's a sign that, of course, the story's not over yet. So that means that hopefully there could be more story to come. And of course, we also got a pretty amazing post-credit scene where we see Ash Williams appearing, and he says his iconic catchphrase, of course, which is groovy, which is amazing. And also as well, when it comes to setting up this, I can personally accept if Ash wouldn't be in a sequel to this, because Bruce Campbell confirmed on a tweet that he has retired from playing Ash in movies and live action, so that's fine, I guess. Although he has, of course, come back to voice Ash in several things, such as video games, and he's going to be voicing Ash in an animated continuation of the Ash vs. Evil Dead show, which I think is a very underrated show. It's a shame it got cancelled. Finally, it's coming back as an animated series. And of course, after this movie, we did also get another installment in the franchise, which of course was Evil Dead Rise. And it was a good movie in my opinion, but unfortunately, it didn't connect to this movie. It had like its own standalone narrative with new characters. It didn't focus on these characters introduced in this movie, sadly. So that was unfortunate. That's probably one of the few bad qualities I do have with that movie. So that's why I hope this film gets a continuation. I'd really love to see that. I think that Evil Dead Rise doing so well with critics giving it positive reviews and people liking it as a nice, return to form for a franchise after 10 years of not Evil Dead movies could probably be a sign for them that they need to greenlight a sequel to this. I definitely would think so, because I think this film is underrated, guys, and I want to see more of it, especially because the ending was setting up something. So I really do hope that they announce a sequel to Evil Dead, and they specifically, of course, connect to this movie, and they don't do like a standalone thing this time. They actually connect to him, and they could even bring back Mia, which would be great, wouldn't it? Because I definitely would love to see her come back. And as for Ashford, like I said, guys, I can accept if he won't be appearing in it because Bruce Campbell confirmed that he's retired, but he could probably appear via a voice cameo like he did in Evil Dead Rise, of course. But for all I know, maybe he could appear. And then again, that's up to Bruce, isn't it? So, yeah. But long story short, though, guys, in my opinion, Evil Dead from 2013 is an example of a film that does deserve a sequel, and I really do hope we do one which connects to it and brings back the characters and continues on from where the cliffhanger left off. Because like I said, guys, I don't count Evil Dead Rise as a proper sequel to this because it doesn't connect to it. I think it's like a more standalone thing. I still like the movie though, nonetheless, but I wish it connected to this movie. So yeah. So guys, this is me doing the next episode of a movie that deserves a sequel. I was saying why, in my opinion, Evil Dead from 2013 is an example of a film that deserves a sequel. So you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to vote in my comments what you guys think of Evil Dead from 2013. Do you need a sequel or not? Or comment below what you think. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe if videos come in the future. If you'd like to be a member, you can join using a piece of or your subscription, and groovy.